another Tucker Carlson bit. I think this is him bitching about Dr. Seuss going woke. I might be wrong. That might be the next one. But
Just getting texts in the break from friends who live in Washington, D.C., where I spent 30 years. People being shot all over the city. Totally third world place. People living on the streets by the thousands. Do any members of Congress who are worried about QAnon notice this? Does Michael McCall notice this? What is happening to our capital city? They're allowing it to happen. Nothing's more infuriating than that, except maybe what's happening to Dr. Seuss. Because if it could happen to Dr. Seuss, it might happen to you. Dr. Seuss went from being a beloved childhood author to worse than Hitler in just a matter of days. On eBay, you are allowed to shop for copies of Mein Kampf. You can buy all the racist filth you want if it's about white fragility and Robin DiAngelo wrote it. But a number of Dr. Seuss books have been purged for, quote, offensive imagery. A spokesman from eBay put it this way, quote, eBay is currently sweeping our marketplace to remove these items. So now you're not even allowed to buy a used copy of Dr. Seuss's books. It's just too dangerous. Matt Walsh is the host of the Matt Walsh Show. He joins us tonight to explain what this is.
Okay. Before we get into Matt Walsh, the ultimate racist, anti-trans, women belong in the home guy. Dr. Seuss. Why is Dr. Seuss gone so? Why is he compared to Hitler? He's not actually. What people forget is a lot of Dr. Seuss books, because he was a cartoonist during World War II. He did a lot of propaganda stuff for the U.S., but he did a lot of racist shit. So, like, some of his books, like, so the Chinese characters have giant buck teeth and the circular hats, right? The pointed cone-shaped hats, and they're not real bright, right? Some of the black characters are very much the old what was it like you used to see in the 30s and 40s, where they had the black faces and the white lips and the big white lips and all that shit. So it was pretty bad. So the thing is a lot of Dr. Seuss books aren't like that, and a lot of parents buy Dr. Seuss books for their kids, right? But what happens is you go on as a parent, you buy the Dr. Seuss book, you get it home, you start reading it to your kid, and you're like, oh shit, this is really 1950s, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't have any children. I'm a teacher, but I teach high school, so this is not likely to be me. But I could see myself just thinking, oh, green eggs and ham was my favorite when I was a kid, and just like ordering some random Dr. Seuss stuff, and then opening it and being like, oh,
yeah.
What do I do with this? I could see being very caught unaware, because in our generation, it was just stuff that was purchased for us. Maybe there were some super aware parents, but I don't think that was sort of the conversation people were having or what they were thinking about. So it was just what was put in front of us.
But when we were kids, they didn't have the full, I mean, it was hard to get like the full sets of all of his works, right?
I think Green Eggs and Ham was literally the only one I owned, because you just like bought individual ones.
Yeah, I had like Cat in the Hat and Green Eggs and Ham, and a few others. But yeah, no, none of it, the ones that we had any of that crap in it. What ended up happening was, I mean, they're going to talk about how it's all wokeness. Once again, this is not a woke issue. This is a financial issue, right? Just like Hasbro Potato Head. It's a financial issue. The company, or not the company, but the people that own the Dr. Seuss estate, right? His grandchildren or whatever it is now, they basically figured out, hey, our sales have been going down, and part of it's because people buy these and then they think, oh shit, the rest of it's like this. And so now we're getting bad press and bad rap, so we're just going to table some of this stuff. And eBay said, well, yeah, we'll just table some of this stuff too. Nobody here is upset about this. Nobody, Dr. Seuss, none of them. They're saying basically we want to up our sales. And this is hurting us because we're not being inclusive of the larger group, right, of Americans. That's all it is. Just like Mr. Potato Head. We're going to take the Mr. away so we can target girls. Because that's half our market right there that should be buying these, and they don't want them. Because it says Mr. on the box.
Right.
There's hundreds of thousands, millions of children that should be reading Dr. Seuss, but they're not buying it because mom saw, a racist African American figure in one of the books and won't let me read that anymore. Right?
Good job, Mom.
Right. So that's all this is. But they're going to try and make it into a bigger issue because they've got nothing else. They're trying to make it into a political thing, but it's not. It's a financial.
Matt, thanks so much for coming on. I can't believe, A, I'm defending Dr. Seuss, and B, I think it's the big deal that I think it is. But I don't think I've seen a more depressing story, I don't know when, than eBay is making it impossible to buy used copies of Dr. Seuss books. Like, what does this portend? Seriously.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not just about Dr. Seuss. By the way, I thought that if the left was ever going to come after Dr. Seuss, it'd be for like promoting elder abuse with Hop on Pop or something like that. But they chose an even more absurd reason. But it's not just Dr. Seuss. The point is we have these major corporations that now have the ability and are exercising that ability to shut down speech that they find offensive.
Okay, so that's all it was. That's all I wanted him to say. They think it's a free speech.
Basically, to shut down racism.
No. They're saying it's a free speech issue. Okay, what they don't understand is corporations, free speech laws don't necessarily apply to them in that way. They're not the government. The government can't inhibit your speech, a certain speech, right? But a corporation can say, I don't want to produce this content.
Well, let's also be honest. Like, you suspend many of your rights when you walk into schools and workplaces because you suddenly have to adhere to whatever their policies and protocols are, and you can't just say anything.
Right.
There are lots of things I cannot say in my workplace that I'm thinking in my head, all right?
Right.
I can't just say it. And I theoretically have free speech, right? But I can't say any of that there, So we suspend those things, and people forget that you agree to suspend those things when you go into certain establishments.
Right. Yeah, I can't run around.
Let's talk about our favorite network, the Ramsey Network.
Yeah.
They are a very, very, very Christian-leaning network. They, to the extent where, like, part of their hiring process, especially for their personalities, is like the person and their spouse having dinner with Ramsey and his wife and whatever, and they have to like submit their budget and like all of this sort of stuff. Which
that's illegal.
I think
that's illegal. What they're doing. That's illegal hiring practice. It's different. So like,
that's totally illegal. But the point being, they get to choose not to accept, callers that are of certain leanings, not to deal with issues that are certain leanings. I mean, they've extended it so far, even into their hiring practices, and nobody's even sneezing at them about it. But like, suddenly eBay doesn't want to put a bunch of books out there that are known for having outdated content that falls into racist categories,
but it's not
somehow a problem.
It's not eBay. It's the owners of the Dr. Seuss estate. They are bullshitting you on that. It's not eBay. The other thing about it is this. So this is the whole thing on the right, is politically they think this works for right-wing candidates for promoting, is that, they're coming after. What?
What works specifically? What strategy?
This bitching about woke stuff. They're coming after your free speech. This wokeism that they're changing. Basically, that's what it always is they're changing the world. It's the same stuff. It's you're not allowed to say this anymore. You can go back through history, the history of mankind. There's been thousands and thousands of movements of, well, they just won't let us say this anymore. There was a whole movement back in the 70s or 80s, after the Civil War, where they were like, well, you can't compare Lincoln to an ape anymore. And that's not fair, because Lincoln's head looked like an ape, so there was a big
I was like, was there a thing about comparing Lincoln to an ape?
Yeah, when he ran for his opponent when he ran for election, his opponent did that because he had a big head that looked like a little bit like an ape.
Oh.
But they would used to put a picture of him next to an ape just to show it, right? They're like, well, you can't say that anymore without people getting upset or offended, and they're canceling our speech and shit like that. It's the same shit, recycled shit over and over and over again. But they do it because they think it works politically to help them out, and that's what they're doing again. What they're not, what we're trying to point out is these are all these corporate things, the corporate wokeism shit that they're bitching about. These are all financial decisions. Corporations are not sitting there going, how could we be more socially conscious? What's happening is they're going, hey, we're losing money because we're not more socially conscious. So maybe we need to start being more socially conscious. Or, hey, we're driving away a lot of customers because of this shit. Maybe we should stop doing that. That's it. That's all that's happening here. Do you really think corporations are sitting there in a boardroom going, what's the best thing for humanity? No.
Oh, hell no. If they're publicly traded, they're thinking, all right, what's going to sell more shares? If they're not, they're thinking, all right, what's going to turn more profit? Either way, they're still thinking basically the same thing.
Well, it's the same thing we do with our clients, right? When it's us with our clients and we have our financial hats on, it's not what's the best thing for humanity. It's what's the best thing I can do for my client.
Right.
So I can get paid, right? If my client wants to invest in guns and cigarettes and, you can vote for whoever they want, blah, blah, blah. I don't sit there and bitch about it. I don't complain. It's their money. It's their issue. But that's what you do. I mean, it's not that's the thing is like, but when I'm out of that and we're on this show, we can talk about these things and go, well, yeah, the good thing about this is society has gotten more and more progressive. The long arc of history leans heavily to the left. And it goes back and forward, but it leans heavily to the left. But the bottom line is these corporations are not responding to the politics of the right. They're responding to the politics of the left because that's where most of the people are. That's where the consumers are. That's where the money is. And if you're an executive, you follow the money. Even though a lot of these corporate executives are very conservative people, they will do whatever it takes to get the female consumer, the black consumer, the Hispanic consumer, the Asian consumer, the gay consumer, right? We want them all.
I literally just did a free survey. I'm a part of an LGBTQ, et cetera, sort of survey group. I get these surveys randomly, and I usually don't have the time to stop and do them, but I decided to do this one, and it really was all about largely travel and logos that would appeal to the broader community. Mm-hmm. If they want to market to anybody in the LGBTQ community. And I was like, I'm helping you with your logo? Come on now. I did have opinions about it, though. There were some I didn't like, so, I did offer that opinion. But, yeah, I mean, it's all...
when we started our little tech company, we picked out a mascot, but we were trying to figure out what we wanted the logo to look at. And one of the logos somebody submitted, we got it, and we were looking at it, and my business partner was like, that looks familiar. And I'm like, dude, that looks like the ISIS flag. I don't think we're going to be using that one. It's too close.
That's a bad damn day right there.
I mean, like, yeah, that's a swing and a miss on the artist's part. We do not want to be associated with that group. All right. Well, the woke thing has gotten so bad that